Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisholm, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com.
Hey everybody, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible to keep your testimony fresh after telling it night after night on tour in different cities in front of different crowds? I mean, doesn't it get old telling the same things over and over, and wouldn't it be hard to keep it fresh and meaningful? And what if you've been telling these same stories for about 20 years? How in the world do you not get bored with them and with yourself, even if the original story is a miraculous testimony of deliverance from a nasty cocaine habit that nearly cost your life, and tales of abusive dads and a broken-hearted mom who spent every last penny she had to save your life? Well, these are some of the questions that I posed to veteran Christian rock band leader Joe Rojas of Seventh Day Slumber in this week's Song Revolution. I think he may have been taken aback just a little when I asked him about the challenges that he faced in keeping a wonderful testimony fresh night after night and tour after tour in what has become a 20-year run for him and the band. But you know what? He came back to me with some answers that proved his true calling and heart for reaching kids for Jesus, with a testimony that just won't quit, despite years of using it over and over to share his miraculous survival of a deliberate overdose right in front of the mother who would give her life for her son if necessary. Closer to Chaos is their much-anticipated new studio recording, released May 31st on RockFest Records, which is a groundbreaking label that was founded by Seventh Day Slumber frontman Joe Rojas last year. And it finds the group returning to their melodic rock roots with a collection of 10 brand new songs. And if you're a rocker, this is a great album for you. It was produced by Seventh Day's Jeremy Holderfield, with 3 selections co-produced and co-written by disciples Josiah, and it tackles a range of issues including emotional trauma, self-worth, and sobriety, among some other topics. It's a great record. I think you'll love it if you're a rocker. These guys have been a consistent force on Christian rock radio. They've won Dove Awards. They've sold a combined total of about 500,000 units to date, which is cool. They've landed 2 Billboard #1 albums, 5 #1 singles, and 14 top 10 hits in a career that literally has spanned more than 20 years. The band is made up of Joe Rojas, lead vocals and guitar, Jeremy Holderfield on guitar as well, Blaze Rojas, which is Joe's son, on drums, and Ken Reed on bass. And the band's signature songs, if you're not familiar, include Oceans from the Rain, Inside Out, Caroline, Finally Awake, and We Are the Broken. It became obvious in our conversation that this difficult yet beautiful story of redemption in Joe's life has had a lot of twists and turns in retrospect, but that it's a story that is still being written, as his teenage son Blaze is now part of the band and helping live out his dad's legacy in rock and roll evangelism and reaching even younger generations. I think you're going to enjoy my conversations with founder and leader Joe, son Blaze, and band members Ken and Jeremy, and see that these guys are still going strong for Jesus and raising up leadership that could see Seventh Day Slumber go another couple of decades. Maybe you really can't wear out a real testimony of God's intervening power and grace when it's as real as this one. So thanks for joining us again this week on the show, and I know you're going to love hearing from Joe, Blaze, Ken, and Jeremy. Seventh Day Slumber. Well, man, it's good to be here in the studio today with Joe and Jeremy and Blaze and Ken, Seventh Day Slumber. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hey, it's awesome, man. You guys have been at this for a while. You're very respected and have such a great ministry. So got a new record out we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the show. So maybe just do a little introduction of yourselves. Maybe because, people aren't watching this on video. So who you are and kind of what you do in the band.
Well, thanks for having us again. My name is Joseph, and I sing for Seventh Day Slumber. Been at it for like 20 years.
My name's Ken. I play bass for the band, and I think I've been in the band 7 years.
My name is Blaze. This is my voice. You can hear me now. I play drums in the band, and I've been playing with them for almost 5 years.
You've grown up in this whole thing, too.
I have, yeah. I've been with the band for my whole life, but I've been playing in the band for almost 5 years.
You were birthed by the band.
I was.
I'm Jeremy. I play guitar for the band, and I've been in the band 17 and a half years, and I met Blaze when he was 2 weeks old. Fun fact.
He's my uncle.
Yeah, that is so cool.
So Blaze is my son, if the listeners haven't figured it out by now. So yeah, so Blaze has grown up in this band his whole life, and then watching our drummer Jamie and studying him, and then learning from Jamie, and then all of a sudden Jamie goes and gets an amazing offer to be a pastor or a worship pastor. Well, it didn't start that way. He just was going for the next season in life with his family, and he got a job as a pastor, which is really awesome. We love him, but he passed the torch down to my son.
Yeah.
So yeah,
excellent. So the whole band and ministry has been birthed out of your testimony, Joe. Mm-hmm. And I've been catching up on some videos, and your testimony is just incredible. Do you ever get tired of telling it?
I just think that sometimes I feel like people are tired of hearing it. But no, you know, God did a huge, amazing thing in my life, and there are people that are struggling in their life and wondering if there's any way out of this. And for me, I was struggling with a cocaine addiction, but it wasn't just a cocaine addiction I was struggling with. A lot of people hear about, man, this guy had a $400 a day cocaine addiction. He was in and out of jails, institutions, and all those things. But what they don't realize is that there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of hurt. There were a lot of other things before cocaine ever came into the picture. Mm-hmm. When I was just a young, kid whose dad left him when I was, a baby, and was raised by a single mom, a dad who never, my only memory of my father was him beating my mother. So I'm here. I'm 3.5 years old. So not a baby, but a toddler, 3.5 years old. I still remember my dad beating my mom. It was the last I saw him. And so it's crazy, like the pain that goes along with that type of those traumatic scenes that play through in your mind. And there's a lot of people that have dealt with things similar, that have been through traumatic situations. And so anyway, that hurt, that pain, the kind of all of it, not feeling accepted, not feeling wanted even. My mom always loved my brother and I, but just to feel like I have a dad that doesn't even want me. Like, what does he even think about me? Is he even know that I'm alive anymore? Like, I didn't even hear from my dad until I was like 14 years old, and by then I hated him. So all those things were part of this, and cocaine was just a way to numb the pain. And then it ended up becoming, I was addicted to it, and I became an addict, and now I'm trying to quit something that used to give me some kind of solace, and so it was just this crazy thing. And so we see the addiction, and we see the cocaine, and we see the jail time, and we see this guy who went through all this stuff, and I was homeless for a while, and we see that, but what a lot of times what's lost is the pain that led to that. The pain that I was going through, the hurt even the thoughts of suicide. Like, what makes life so bad for you that you want to take your own life? And that's how I was feeling. There's just a lot of hurt, and cocaine was just a way to self-medicate, which was killing myself, slowly, So, but it was crazy because God showed up in all of that, I mean, I didn't really believe in him at the time. Oh, I don't know. I didn't know if he was real or not. I used to say I was an atheist because it just sounded cooler to say, yeah, I'm an atheist. You know what I mean? But really, I was agnostic. I didn't know if there was a God. Like, how could I really know that there's not a God? You know what I mean? And that's the truth. So, I would always say I was an atheist. But how do I really know? But if there was a God, is what I would think, then what would he want with someone as worthless as me? Look at me, man. I'm a drug addict. I'm a criminal. I've hurt people, and I've done this. I've done that. I've been in and out of jails, institutions. I stole from my own mother to get high. a mother who loved me, a mother who, but my mother got saved, when I was in jail. I was locked up. I was about 18 or so, and I can't remember it all, kind of a little bit of a haze, you know what I mean? But she got saved, trying to help me. She was desperate for help from me. She ends up in church, and then that began the talks of, hey, Jesus has a plan for you, son. And I know this sounds like religious talk or crazy, but I'm telling you, son, God loves you. I love you. You don't have to live like this. And that was the beginning of that, to the planting the seeds. And finally, I had made a decision to commit suicide. I was just done. I was done hurting my mom, who I love so much. Didn't want to hurt her anymore, and I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to. I don't want to steal from my mom. You know what I mean? Like, who? Why would I want to do that? I don't want. It was just like, it was almost like cocaine was controlling everything that I was doing, and a lot of the things I was saying. It was just not what was in here. It was just what was coming out, and I was under control, man. Seriously, and finally just decided the only way this is gonna ever stop. I've been to rehabs, I've been to behavioral centers, I've been to jail in and out. Whatever, man. None of it's working. The only way this is ever gonna stop is if I just end my life. So I made a decision to do it. My mother walked in unexpectedly, and I overdosed in front of her, and she was screaming and crying. I tell that story a lot, as I remember, because I was grabbing my chest. I was on the ground, and I could still hear my mom screaming and yelling. And I ended up, she called the paramedics, and she was praying, and it was in the back of the ambulance that I felt the hand of God. It was in the back of the ambulance. I knew that he was real. Like, it was more than just some late night preacher who got me in the feels, because he put some words together real good. Like, I knew this was real. This is a real God. Like, he's real with me right now. I can't explain it. I've not tried to explain it to anybody over these years, because there's just no way to explain what I experienced. I experienced a living God. And I have experienced him more than once. You know what I mean? And I'm not crazy. I'm not out of my mind. I'm not seeing things that aren't really there. I don't have an imaginary friend. He is a living God who has healed my broken heart, who's given me hope, who's given me a future, who now I'm married, about to celebrate 20 years of marriage, got 3 awesome sons, got amazing friends that we've in a band together. This is not my imaginary buddy. I'm telling you right now that God is real, and he changed my life, and I'm not going to make any qualms about it, and this may make people mad, but his name is not Buddha, and his name is not Hare Krishna, and his name, I don't care. His name is not Muhammad. His name is Jesus Christ, and he saved my life. And that's just the truth. It's the truth. And so here I am today. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. But I'm not where I used to be. Not where I want to be, but I'm happy with where I'm at. It just, I know there's so much more to do, but I'm thankful I'm not where I used to be. So I know that was kind of me rambling.
Yeah, no, man, that's fantastic. It's such an amazing testimony. And so out of your testimony, you move into this ministry that's developed over, 20 years. Mm-hmm. And so maybe give us a little update on how does that testimony, obviously in the music, which we're going to get to, but how does that practically work itself out in your ministry as you're going around doing the festivals, singing to the crowds and the kids? How does that work out for you guys?
Well, I feel like because of the things that I've been through, that I'm able to relate to people that are hurting, that are struggling. You don't have to be a drug addict, man, to know what pain is. You don't have to have had a mom and dad divorce to want to take your own life, to hurt, to not feel accepted, to not feel wanted, to not feel good enough. I feel like pain is universal. It doesn't matter who your mama and daddy are, what side of the tracks you grew up on. We all hurt. And to you, something that you went through may not seem to me like that's that big of a deal compared to what I went through. But to you, that was a traumatic thing. You were that's real to you. That pain is real to you. And for me, and I believe for all three of these guys, that we have a way of just relating because we understand that just because you weren't a drug addict doesn't mean that you don't have the same pain that I have, or that you haven't felt the way that I've felt. And because we understand that people feel like they can talk to us and relate to us, and over 20 years of us playing, they love our music and we've been able to stay relevant musically. But I feel like over the 20 years, what's kept us going is that we've made ourselves vulnerable and open for people to be able to come to us with their hurt and their pain, and that they know that we actually care.
So a lot of one-on-one ministry, like after the shows and stuff like that. So Blaze, you were born into this, man. So it's not really your testimony. So you're kind of living it, right? So what's that all like for you?
Man, it's honestly, it's such a blessing, and it's so cool to know that like this is my dad and this is my uncle. So, and Ken is like one of my best friends. So it's like I'm in a band with all like my family. Like this is my family. I've grown up around Ken. He's been in the band for 7 years, so that's almost half my life. And so it's just so cool. Like I've grown up around everybody, and I've seen them minister my whole life. I've seen them do that. I've seen them talk to kids who are hurting and be honest with them and help them to know that God is this is your answer. Like this is how you get through this. And now I'm a part of that, and I'm doing the same thing that they are, and it's so cool.
So you kind of have your own testimony of growing up, not in your dad's shadow necessarily, but kind of in the blessing of it.
Yeah,
the legacy.
Exactly. Yeah,
of his turnaround. That's cool. That's cool. Well, and so you play drums?
I do. Yeah, right? I play drums.
Yeah. So did you just learn it by hanging around it?
Yeah, kind of. I grew up, and I always felt like that was music is something like this is what God has for me. Like I'm gonna do music. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if it's gonna be guitar or bass or drums or singing or whatever it is. I didn't know. But when I was 10, I ended up playing I ended up starting taking lessons with our old drummer Jamie, and I would watch him every night play drums and just see what's he doing, how's he doing all that, and then after a little bit of that, I ended up actually taking real lessons with him once a week, and I just did that for a while, and I've just after that I've just kind of just soaked in everything with the bands we've been on tour with, and just watched them and all their drummers, and seen oh man, this is cool, this is something I never thought of, or just stuff like that.
Right. So do you feel like you can bring your own interpretation to some of it, or do you feel locked in?
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool, and that's another thing with the album is I feel like this is this is my first album I've played on, and so I've been able to bring my own this is Blaze playing, this is my own thing, and I think that's really cool. Even just playing live shows, I feel like it's kind of I'm a mixture between Lester Estelle, who plays drums for Kelly Clarkson and Pillar, and Jamie Davis, and all these drummers that I've watched play. I'm a mixture of all of it, so cool. Which is really cool.
What's it like to walk out on a stage and see thousands of people who love your music, and they're totally getting into it for a young person like you? It's
crazy. I don't know exactly how to I don't have words to explain how surreal it is. It's such a blessing. I couldn't be more thankful for it.
So I bet a lot of kids come up to you because you're more their age, and they can kind of feel like maybe they could talk to you a little more.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite parts about it is there's so many kids that are my age that feel oh well, he's my age, I can go up and walk and talk to him, and that's not saying that you guys are old. But they're
no.
Nah, I'm just kidding. But they walk up and they're man, this is he's a teenager, I can talk to him, he's probably going through the same stuff that I am, even though he's not in real school. He's still struggles with the same stuff I do. he's like, I can go talk to him. And that's so cool. Like, I think that's one of my favorite parts about it, is like being able to be approached by kids my age and being able to minister and talk to them.
So maybe this question is for anyone, maybe for you, Joe, but how do you keep it fresh when you tell the same stories? You don't get to go back and totally change your history, because that's what the work of Jesus in your life is, what the heart of this ministry is. So how do you keep it fresh?
Well, here's what I really do. I remind myself, first of all, that not everybody here has heard me over and over and over and over again. Right. I think that's the most important thing, is like, there are people that hear my testimony and they're like, oh, I've got to bring my friend. So if I then now change it and don't tell my testimony, but I talk about something different, or not change my testimony, but talk about something different, or then they're going to go, oh man, I brought my friend so they could hear his story. Yeah. And so for me, I have to remind myself of that. Like, dude, you're not just saying the same thing over and over and over again. Well, you are, but then I add things in there, and you're right. I do keep it. I do have to keep it fresh, and that's just by other things that have happened in my life along the way that I add in here. My story is still being still being written. You know what I mean? And so there's always new things that I'm learning, and that have happened to me, and that I still go through, and all those things. And so I'll talk about those things as well. But I have to remember and remind myself too that, hey, dude, your story is your story. That's God delivered you from a serious situation, and people need to hear that, you know? So, yeah. But yeah, sometimes I do feel like I'm kind of stuck in the same thing. But man. Something? Yeah, go ahead.
Come on, Ken.
So I've never really felt that his testimony was repetitive. It's the same foundation. It starts the same. But I believe God speaks to this man and through this man. Like, I've written, I could be just listening to him talk, and I hear, how it starts, and it's the same. But then he'll say something that's like, well, that was really strong. And that's when I'll write stuff down. I always get something. Every night I listen to him, there's always one little thing that gets me through whatever I'm going through at the time. And I believe that's God speaking through him, because sometimes it catches him off guard and says, hey man, I need to write down what I just said. I was like, yeah, dude, because that was crazy.
Yeah. So you guys have been at this, like we said a couple of times, for about 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're viewed as really kind of a long time success. So I'd like to ask you our one big question of the show, which is what...
Yes, I'm 28.
What? You beat me to the punch. So, and you guys can all answer this, or Joe, whoever wants to, what has been your one big hurdle to success, and how have you overcome that?
Well, I'll say something for me, and then I'll let them all talk. But I would say that the one big hurdle to success and overcoming it is that I don't have to be what you need me to be. I don't have to be what you think I should be. That I'm good enough the way God made me, and you can be you, and I can be me, and that's cool. And I don't need to look like you to be successful. I don't have to get all this weight off at this moment to be successful. I do it to be healthy, but I don't have to look like you or dress like you to be successful. Like, I know that God has called me to this. And for me to finally understand that has taken years throughout the years. And I'm like, I've got awards and I still don't feel successful. I've got a Dove Award, that's like the kind of the highest honor in Christian music, and I'm like still and not today. Now I've kind of I've overcome that now, where I'm like, hey, look, if you don't this is who I am. This is what God called me to do. But it took years of me looking at, things and still feeling like I have to be this to be successful. I have to be that for you, for you to accept me. I don't need to do that. I don't have to be what anybody else needs me to be or wants me to be. I just need to be the best me I can be. And God has called me to this, and trusting and knowing that God really did call me to this. That's it. I had to overcome that hurdle. And now, hey, listen, now I enjoy my interviews more. I enjoy the concerts more. It's just changed me. It's changed me for real.
It's good, man. Really good. What about you, Ken?
I think for me, my hurdle is fear. I'm gonna go back a little bit. It's gonna sound like a testimony, but so high school, or really, I don't like being in front of people. It makes me uncomfortable. It's kind of odd that I really do that for a living. Like, I have to be in front of people. But I remember telling God, when I got saved, if whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. I'll do it. It's just walk me through it, because I'm scared to take steps sometimes. But I came from like a very abusive father, and keep telling me, man, you'll never be successful. You'll never do this. You just need to stay down. You need to stay down. And one day I was in band, and I saw this bass, and I picked it up and started playing it. And this dude came up to me and said, he said, man, you suck, dude. You need to just stop playing, give up. Just give up. That's all you need to do. And it made me so mad. I was like, no. Like, I got up. I practiced every day, and every day. I practiced every day, and I got better at it. And it's crazy, because that day Mom told me, just keep going. I know you're going through some pain. God has a reason. I never knew what that reason was until I joined the band. I had no idea what that was. God prepared me for it. I didn't see it at the time. 2006, 2007, I was invited to go see a band, these guys, and they did their music. I was blown away. This is amazing. They're a great band. And then he did his testimony, and he said, man, if I'm going to get you guys to back up, and I'm going to pray for you guys. If you're hurting, come up here. Let me pray for you. And man, you see this big guy takes off running, drops to his face, and I was like, whoa, I want to do something like that. I want to be a part of a ministry like that. It doesn't have to be that. I want to do that. And then fast forward 2011, he called me to join the band. I was like, this is crazy, right? That's mind blowing. And my first show with them was Heaven Fest in Colorado. And he did the same thing, and he asked everybody to back up and say, hey, let me pray for you if you're hurting. Come up here if you're hurting. And then you see a big guy walk up, very first one, and drops to his face. And that immediately was like, see, that was God telling me, it reminded me, like, this is where you need to be, and stay here until I tell you to move. And so the reason why I said fear is because I almost said no to Joe, because I was so scared. For a long time I was told, dude, you're not going to be good enough. And then I kept flashing back to the time that when I was playing the bass, or I tried to, and the guy's like, dude, you suck, give up. And it made me mad, and I fought back. I was like, no, I'm going to practice. I'm going to do the opposite. And that's what I did. When I got that call from Joseph that day, I was like, dude, I'm not good enough for that. That's Seventh Day Slumber. Like, I'm just a dude from the Philippines. Like, I'm just nobody. I'm nobody. But my friend's like, dude, you need to do this. Like, this is a big opportunity. You need to man up, practice the song, and go. And that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was kind of long.
No, it's great, man. So fear was the biggest hurdle, and you just kind of kicked it. It's awesome.
And that guy that told Ken to give up is actually a fan of Seventh Day Slumber now.
Yeah.
Michael.
He shall remain anonymous. Michael
Scott. No, I mean, those are both, like, it's I don't know. I think for me is kind of just like how young I am, and like people are always like, you're too young, like you can't do that, like like you're what? You're 13. I was 13 when I joined the band. I was like, you're 13. Like, you can't do that. You're a kid. You can't play those parts. You can't minister to people. But like, people saying that, like, you're putting God in a box. Like, you're saying that just because I'm young, God can't use me to talk to people or like to point them towards Him. And so I think getting over that, like fear, or just like question, like, am I too young? Like, can I do like that's like, that was probably the biggest thing. But like, once I got over that, it's like, okay, no, like, this is what God had me here. Like, whatever you say doesn't matter. Like, if you think I'm good enough or not, like, God thinks I'm good enough. God put me here for a reason. Yeah. So this is why I'm here. And once I got over that, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like, this is what I'm here for. Like, God put me here for a reason. And what you think about me doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah. Sweet. Thanks, Blaze. What about you, Jeremy? We hadn't heard from you yet. So
oh, hey. Well, I wanted to say two things about them first. First of all, you know, that is a fear people have, is I'm not good enough to do this. What was crazy about Ken saying that is he's literally the best bass player I've ever heard in my life. And so for him to say those things, I'm like, really, man, how could you ever believe that about yourself? So don't believe that. It's a lie from the devil.
Take that, Michael.
And with Blaze, you know, like, it's like, man, God equipped him with what he needed to do to succeed. Like, I'm sure he had it in him from the beginning, but like, God called him. And he's like the best drummer I know too. So like, none of us came out here as experts, like, to begin with. And I was not an expert. I'm far away from an expert, but like, I'm just doing the best I can, you know? And I feel like God's given us a lot of, what some people would consider expertise in the field, because we've been doing it so long, and we've learned a lot of stuff the hard way. I feel like the struggle for success, that's a hard thing to talk about, because if you talk about the hurdles that you have to overcome to be successful, it sounds like you're speaking from a place of success. And like Joseph said, I still feel like we're there. I don't know, are we successful yet? But then the rest of the world's looking on, and they're like, yeah, you've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, you're successful. And you look at all the things that you've accomplished and that God's done with you, and you're like, oh, this is success, you know? And a lot of, I feel in my 17 years that I've been in the band, I feel like sometimes I stop and I think, how much have I missed because I was scratching and clawing to try to be successful and missed out on the things that, like, the moments where it's like, hey, look around you at what God's doing with you and through you, and look at all the things you have accomplished. But I think that's like a hurdle for me for the whole time I've been in the band, is like it's a lot like Joseph said, you're trying to find the thing that will make you successful, and then realizing that God's like, hey, I don't need you to do something or be somebody else. I need you to be who I called you to be. And whenever you start trying to do something different for people to like you, it's like you're not believing in yourself, and you're not believing in what God really put inside of you. And man, I'm not preaching at anybody. I'm preaching it myself. But I believe that God called all of us to be Seventh Day Slumber, and to write the music we do, and to be transparent in front of people, and not try to act like, hey, I've the picture of perfection here, because we definitely are not that. But I think that's one of the reasons why we're still around too, is because we've never painted that picture for people. We've always told them and been upfront with them about our faults, and people relate to that. And you know, we're not Michael W. Smith successful as far as like album sales. We may have the same bank account. I don't know. He may almost have as much money as us. But man, I feel like God has used us in a legendary way, man. And I feel like hopefully 20 years from now, when I'm 40 years old, that people will be like, man, Seventh Day Slumbers, like, will be remembered as one of those bands that like made a difference ministry wise and made a difference in people's lives. And it's not just, oh, they had a really cool song. Yep. And I believe more than anything, and I'm a booking agent. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you know, people book Seventh Day Slumber. They love the music, but they bring us in because they want to see people's lives changed. Yep. And that's something that I can take pride in saying, that that's what we're about.
It's great, Jerry.
I would say don't get it twisted, though, because I think we wrote the best album of our lives, like the best Seventh Day Slumber album. I'm not saying it's the best album in the world. I'm saying the best. It is the best album in the world. I'm just now knowing that. Thank you guys for telling me that. I appreciate it. I agree. No, but I believe we wrote the best album of our lives with this Closer to Chaos album. So we're still growing. We're still getting better, and this is just another season in life.
Wow, that's so cool, guys. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about the new record, Closer to Chaos. Jeremy produced it, and everybody played on it, and it's so cool. Love this record. We're going to take just a quick break and talk about something that I think is going to be very valuable for you as a Christian songwriter. So check it out.
Do you feel like God's given you a bunch of songs, but you don't know what to do with them? Do you feel like you've got a real call on your life to write, but you're clueless about where to start? Or maybe you've got writer's block and you're wondering if you'll ever get the creative juices flowing again. Well, we've got you covered with NCS membership. NCS membership is all about community and how to grow in this calling you feel deep inside to be heard. We get it. We know that you just want to honor God with your talents and be a good steward of what He's given you. And that's why NCS membership could be your next right step to grow, learn, be challenged, get connected, and ultimately fulfill your dreams to glorify God and reach others with the same passion you feel. It's designed to help you tell your story and to reach listeners who will love your songs. With your NCS membership, you'll receive 24/7 access to valuable masterclasses on topics such as modern hymn writing, worship writing, song form, lyric development, and recording home demos, as well as discounts for other NCS products and a deep connection into a community of creatives who get you. There are a lot of songwriters out there, so you need to be the best you can be to stand out, be heard, and become the songwriter you were born to be. Just go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com now to check out all the great benefits of becoming part of a decidedly Christian community of songwriters from all over the world. NCS membership, your next right step to being heard.
Well, I just hope that you'll take advantage of that and check it out. All right? We bring you good stuff here on the Song Revolution podcast. So back to our episode.
All right, everybody, we're back with Seventh Day Slumber. They've got a great new album called Closer to Chaos.
Woot, woot.
Even this old rock and roller loves this record, man. It's just a great sounding record. And so I think we're going to start off with Jeremy, because he's produced the last few records, and maybe catch us up, Jeremy, on kind of, you know, what the some of the production values were for this, and, you know, maybe anything was different from the last few, or kind of what stands out in the process for you.
This was the first record that I produced for Seventh Day Slumber for Joseph's label, RockFest Records. And so this was different in a couple of ways. The first one is the first thing that I thought was different production-wise is we've always had some sort of someone telling us, hey, you need to do this with the record, or they'll let us do what we want with 6 or 7 songs, and 2 or 3 of them, hey, that's fine, you guys do this, but we need 3 songs that we can pitch to radio. Like, you know, you have to turn the guitar back down to 5, and, you know, you can only use 1 foot with your drums. And there's always been that. And I don't think anybody, like, I don't know, some of it, I guess, has been pretty, some of the label, I would call it intervention, has felt, I don't know. I don't think we've ever recorded anything we weren't proud to record. Even some of, like, the Caroline, the Oceans from the Rain, Inside Out, those are all, like, we love that stuff. We listen to all sorts of music, so it's in there. But sometimes it just feels like we were forced to make certain calls on a record. And this was a record that the whole time we talked about the songs going on it was kind of like, hey, let's do what we want. We're going to give the fans a hard rock record because we have those people asking for that, and we wanted to make one. And so this was the first record that I've been able to do for Seventh Day Slumber that was like, hey, do it. Do whatever you want to do. Let's make it epic. Let's let Blaze play whatever he wants to play. And if it's, Ken got to do whatever he wanted to do. We worked together really hard. I think this is the first record in a while. I can't even remember the last time we worked this closely on a record, like all the writing sessions and stuff. A lot of it over the last few records, I feel like, has been me recording music, sending it over to Joseph's studio, him sending stuff back, and me saying, yeah, I like this, I don't like this, and him sending me stuff back and forth. And it can feel a little disconnected sometimes when you do it that way, even though that is pretty much the norm for a lot of people. Yeah. But this one, we sat down in my studio a lot and just like wrote through stuff, and it was
it was late and we didn't feel like doing, like, man, no, let's finish this, man, and we owe it to this record, to finish this, even if it was late. It's like midnight and we had been working all day from early in the day to whatever, doing our own stuff, and then going into the studio it's just, I feel, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to, I feel like we gave everything. We left it on the field.
Yeah, we rewrote some things that we didn't want to have to rewrite because we were like, oh man, we know this is not what it needs to be. Let's just do it. And we stuck it out and pushed through the moments like where there was 45 minutes of trying to figure out what we were going to say on that one line. But then when we did it, several times I remember us saying, man, I'm so thankful, so glad that we stuck it out on this, because look at what came from it. So with this record, as far as production goes, man, it was nice to not have to say, okay, what am I going to turn into a radio single? Like, I think there's some radio singles on here, for rock radio, for sure. They're all big melodies in the choruses and great, I think classic Seventh Day Slumber stuff. But as far as musically goes, like, we got to do what we wanted to do, and man, it's killer. I love it. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, great record, great songs, lots of melodic stuff going on amongst the shredding and riffing and all that you do there. It's very tight. It's so sonically, I don't know, just powerful. And that's even a stupid word, because it is powerful. It's just
that's the goal. It's not a stupid word. That's what you want to do is overdo the, like, I'm OCD about a lot of stuff, and like all the little details is where it's at, man.
Yeah. Well, you nailed it. So let's talk about a couple of the songs. I mean, the opener, Alive Again, that really hit me just on first listen. It's like, okay, this one's a keeper. So I don't know, maybe talk about a couple of your faves and kind of where they came from.
Well, I love Alive Again. That song is just different than we've done, and it's exciting to hear. Like, I love listening to that song. It's I don't know if this is a weird way to say this, but it's fun listening to that song. It is, yeah. And I'm like, man, it's a cool song, and it's just different and catchy and fun to listen to, but it's also powerful lyrically. And I think with that one, we did some stuff to it. Jeremy had an idea in the beginning. Then we did a bridge that I was like, dude, we should put this on the chorus. And it was kind of like a Frankenstein in a way. We kind of took pieces here and then put it together. But I don't know, that song's awesome. Then Sober is one of my, that's a song that gets me in the feels. Also Man Down, my son Blaze wrote Man Down, and he also wrote a song called The Letter. Those two songs, like, when I hear those two songs, and I'm like, man, the lyrical content is powerful. I know that Blaze wrote it, which makes it even more powerful for me that my 17-year-old son wrote these things. And it's like, but I don't know, I love the whole record. Every song has something to offer, and it's just, that's how I feel about it. And Blaze doesn't go.
Yeah, I think my favorite musically is probably it's not called Beg anymore. that was the working title. But the Closer or Cold Kiss Embrace musically, or Burning an Empire, those are just both really fun to play. But I think lyrically is probably The Letter, just because it was like one of my, like, I helped write the song, but it's also like we see hurting kids and people struggling with suicide every day, and it's just really personal, just because we get to like see that and help them, and it's, I don't know, it's just really cool.
My favorite, I just make it quick. My favorites are definitely Sober. I like the music, but actually, I wrote the music to that song for Amongst the Giants, but it didn't make their last record because I wrote it like after everything had already been recorded, and then Joseph was like, "No, dude, we're gonna use this on our record," and so he sent over the lyrics, man, and the lyrics are what I really love about the song. The most that I love about the song is the lyrical content. It's so powerful. The Letter is super cool. Marco Pero wrote the guitar riff on it and stuff like that, and he's a great guitar player. He's also in Amongst the Giants, but that song is super cool, man. I love that Blaze wrote the lyrical stuff. Like, he's such a big part of this record, but that was such a big deal to me that he did that. I was so proud of him. But the music on that is awesome, and then probably Man Down is really cool too, just because of I think that impact that it'll have on people that have PTSD and all that from being in the war, or in any sort of military stuff. You know, those people that come back from overseas with PTSD, and Blaze also, you know, had a big hand in that song. So I think those are like really powerful songs that stick out to me that are not your normal Seventh Day Slumber song.
Wow. All right, Ken.
My favorite, for sure, my number one favorite is Sober. I saw Joseph go through that stuff, through that funk, whatever that was, but I also saw God got him out of that, like how he came out of it. How, man, it's that I get emotional talking about it. I've talked about that a lot. Man Down makes me cry. First time I heard the intro, I cried. But the hardest song I played, as far as the music part goes, The Letter was fun to record. It was stinking hard. I like music like that kind of challenges me. But yeah, and obviously the lyrics are, man. So
dude, I think this has been kind of like Blaze, you know. It's like, look at this young man growing up in this and learning to play, learning to write, learning to minister, you know. So whatever else you guys have done, you're raising up the next generation. So that's so powerful.
Amazing to see it. It's amazing for all of us to see this, like, for real.
You gonna be singing next? You sing?
I actually sing a little bit with Amongst the Giants. I sang some background stuff on that, and the bridge on Too Late.
Yeah,
so a little bit.
So 20 years from now, you're gonna still be busting it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, you guys, this has been fabulous, and just really appreciate such a ministry, such a legacy. I mean, 20 years, and really keeping the main thing, and raising up a wonderful young man like this. So congratulations. I want to take just a moment to acknowledge you and say thank you for what you've done for the kingdom of God, for all these kids, man, and adults alike who have found hope and found Jesus, you know, through Seventh Day Slumber. So thanks so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Yeah.
All right. All the best.
Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one, and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You know, you can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.